Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for this webinar, where we hope to spark a meaningful dialogue about digital parenting and how parents can harness social media to enhance their family experiences while also ensuring online safety. My name is Vanessa Lee. I'm the parenting correspondent at the Straits Times, and I am your host and moderator for today's discussion. Let me introduce you to our panelists who have very kindly taken the time to join us today. First up, there is Dr. Jiao He Ji, Program Director, Singapore Institute of Technology, and a member of the Media Literacy Council. Then from TikTok, we have Mr. Arjun Narayan, TikTok's Head of Trust and Safety for APEC. Mr. Ng Mingwei, a national Taekwondo athlete, is also known as Mingwei Rocks. He's one of TikTok's fastest growing creators in Singapore with over 13 million followers. He began his TikTok journey to inspire new enthusiasts for his sport before finding his own voice through comedy. We're also joined by his father, Mr. Cedric Ng, also known as Daddy Ming, who started exploring the app together with Mingwei during the circuit breaker, and who has become a sensation on TikTok in his own right. In just 23 days, his account gained 1 million followers, and he now has more than 4 million followers today. With children increasingly exposed to online technology, social media has a bad rap in some quarters. It is increasingly perceived as a potential barrier to quality family time. I myself sometimes feel anxious about what my kids are watching online, especially when I'm working, even when I'm working from home and I'm not able to monitor what they're watching. Controlling screen time can also seem an insurmountable task. This is especially for parents who are unaware of what goes on in video games or on the social media platforms their children are using. Sometimes parents are simply intimidated by the technology. However, the responsible use of social media may actually present opportunities to make family time more meaningful and more engaging. We are here today to discuss how parents can tap on social media platforms like TikTok to enhance family bonds. And we also want to dispel any misconceptions regarding social media. Throughout our session, let us know your thoughts. If you have any insights to share, simply leave a comment below. We may not be able to answer your questions live. However, we do hope that this will spark a meaningful dialogue nonetheless. Now, let's hear more from our panel of experts. Dr. Jiao, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Vanessa. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is G. I'm the Program Director at the Singapore Institute of Technology and a member of the Media Literacy Council. I have 4 children, 2 of them in secondary school and 2 in primary school. In my line of work, I study how parents manage their children's media habits. And I've given talks on such matters in schools and corporations. And I'm very happy to be here, and I'm grateful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity. I thought I would share my first experience with TikTok, which happened when I was on a holiday with my brother's family. My children and my nephews and nieces were all dancing and laughing, doing a recording and all that. And I just joined in because it was fun. And only later did I find out that it was part of a production of a TikTok content. So that was kind of like my experience with TikTok. And I'm very happy that you're all here. Back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you, G. And next up, let's talk to Arjun and find out what his role is at TikTok.
Thank you, Vanessa. It gives me great pleasure to be here and part of this panel discussion. So I'm excited and looking forward to it. I run the trust and safety team for TikTok. And in my current capacity, I'm responsible for making sure that the platform is safe and provides a positive experience for our users. And of course, looking forward to discuss more about our safety features, some of the new concepts we've introduced, which can help families have a great time on the platform.
Sounds great, Arjun. Thank you. And now let's talk to Mingwei, the youngest on our panel today.
Hello everyone, my name is Ming Wei, also known as Ming Wei Rocks. So I started using TikTok at end 2018 when I used TikTok sort of a way to promote my sports. So when I start to make more videos to promote like sort of Taekwondo, which is my sport, I started to develop a passion for making videos and I moved on to make more relatable videos and comedy skits. Yep, back to you, Vanessa.
Thanks, Mingwei. And now we're going to hear from Mingwei's dad, Cedric.
Hi everyone, I'm Cedric Ng, also known as Danny Ming at TikTok video. During circuit breaker, my son asked me to do a TikTok video with him. Initially, I was quite reluctant to do it, but finally, because of my son, I gave in. So my current TikTok video are mainly pranking on him. Back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you. Right. We're delighted to hear from all our panelists, and we are so happy that they can join us. Thank you. And so without further ado, let us now proceed to our guided discussion segment, where we'll be talking more broadly about digital parenting and the use of social media. So let's hear from our panelists about what's going on in the social media space today and what are the trends and challenges and opportunities. Let's start with Mingwei. So Mingwei, what are your thoughts on social media today? How have you seen social media positively impact other people's lives? And conversely, what are some common pitfalls that young people may need to navigate?
So for me, I think social media is actually a powerful tool to connect with people, not just in Singapore, but around the world. So for example, TikTok, the app, allows users to showcase their creativity and talents to a global audience from over like 150 countries. So this is something that would be actually very difficult to achieve like offline. So personally, for me, social media and TikTok in particular, they actually sort of allowed me to pursue my dream of being like a content creator and turn it into something more just like an hobby. So however, with the ability to like stay anonymously online, we can see how cyberbullying can become also like a growing issue within like society today.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Mingwei. And right now, maybe we can talk about something that should clear up some of the ambiguity surrounding the use of social media. So, for example, what are some common misconceptions about social media? Perhaps Arjun of TikTok would like to take this up.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So before I talk about some of the misconceptions, I want to start by saying TikTok is a happy and fun place, and I hope all of you who've used TikTok have had fun, have had moments of enjoyment through the platform. Just to kind of speak about some of the misconceptions and that parents would think about when it comes to social media. Things like social media is not a safe place. It's not a platform which is very productive. It's a platform which is distracting for teenagers and kids. So these tend to be the common misconceptions about social media. And during the course of this discussion, I'm hoping to use some of the points to myth bust and talk to you about why these are misconceptions. So yeah, that's kind of the top line summary.
Thank you, Arjun. Right, and so maybe let's talk about some kind of evidence-based research and from the point of view of someone who has actually done research in this field. So G, let's direct this next question to you. Do you think that parents today feel intimidated by social media and technology?
Thanks, Vanessa. I don't really think they feel intimidated. I mean, because nowadays parents of young kids probably have some interaction with social media in some measure. But I think they are more concerned about what their child is really doing on social media. In my interactions with parents, it's no surprise that parents typically ask me, hey, what do kids do on, let's say, this particular platform? And if they do this, is it a concern and things like that? So I don't think that parents are really intimidated, but they are more concerned about what their child is actually doing on social media. And normally what I tell them is that, hey, you can actually find out from your child. There are many ways to find out what your child is really doing on social media and to find out more about the social media itself. So back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you, G. That was illuminating. So another question that arises for me would be, how can social media be wielded as a tool for parents and for parents to engage with their children and maximize family time? Perhaps Cedric, as Mingwei's dad, you can talk about this point.
When it is used safely, I think social media can be an avenue for parents and children to share their interests and know more about each other. For both of us, TikTok has proven to be a great platform to bond between both father and son. We are able to work together closely on brainstorming, content idea, planning, bringing ideas to life. And increasingly, TikTok has also become an alternative space for learning. There are plenty of educational video on the platform that both parents and children can share, learn, and watch it together and enjoy, ranging from maybe cooking to study tips and so much more. Back to you.
Thank you, Cedric. That's kind of interesting to find out, like, how TikTok can be like a more equal plane for parents and children to communicate and work together. So thank you, panelists. It's been a great conversation so far. And before we continue to more specific discussion areas, let's watch a video on how TikTok creators Mingwei and Cedric began their social media journey and how that experience has transformed their own family time. And this is the video, Tikin Good Family Time.
This is the most popular father-son TikTok duo in Singapore with over 7 million followers. They grew in popularity during the CB period and not only found huge success on TikTok, but turned this situation into a way for their family to bond.
Hello, I'm Ming and this is Daddy Ming and we are a father-son TikTok duo. Ask us anything. We started making TikTok during the circuit breaker when everyone is stuck at home. Usually I do film TikTok with my friends, but because of the circuit breaker when everyone is stuck at home, I sort of need people to film together with. So one day I thought of an idea to ask my father, and at first he was a bit reluctant and it took me like a few tries to persuade him to join me in just one video. But after that one video, the response was not bad, and so I got a chance to like, hey, look at this video and like ask him for a second time.
My first post on TikTok is on 23rd of July. He just tell me what I'm supposed to do, and I just go there and just act. That was like maybe 5 minutes.
I'm a national athlete and I'm also studying in NTU. I'm currently studying in psychology. I'm in my final year.
I'm a retiree. Most of the time I will stay at home and do the housework.
So the point of TikTok is that it's a very easy to use video editing app that allows you to post video easily. I think TikTok is a place where you can meet people with like different talents. Everyone has an equal chance of like going viral if your videos are actually good. In addition of having a video to reach out to more people, actually one main point of TikTok is that most of the videos can be filmed easily using just a mobile phone.
They will just, let's say, how come I always a so-called prank on him? Is it your real son? Is it adopted?
So I think for TikTok, they are actually quite a very safe community because they have very clear like community guidelines that actually help against like such comments.
Don't think about it because that is part and parcel of going to social media. But most of them are positive comments because our videos are all very humorous. So just take it easy. Music is easily selected there. So whatever music you want, you just select because there's a list of music there for you to choose. Even there's a filter, there is some effect. It's very simple apps to use. I think it's easier than playing a game.
So for duet, usually like I try to watch as many as I can because like I try to see people's emotions when they watch like my videos, and those emotions actually help me to plan for my next video, to see like which part of my video actually generates the kind of emotions that I hope to achieve. I think my family is quite supportive. I mean, like my father joined in TikTok, my sister and my grandma also joined TikTok. For my mom, I think it remains to be seen because like she's quite busy working from home, so like she helps in other form of ways as of now, like helping to prepare props, like helping me to make cream.
She will give comment about, hey, look, you should do this, you should change a little bit.
Listen.
We try. Daily basis, I would say 1 to 2 hours per day. Sometimes it's also to distress that you look at the video, then you have a good laugh. It's so funny, so cheeky. You're famous now.
So I think TikTok is known for the For You page, where the For You page is curated to the interest of the audience. So if you want your videos to appear in the For You page, you first have to make videos that people are actually interested in. Also, if you want to gain followers fast, maybe you can start off with like trends and hashtags.
Definitely, I would encourage my peers or anyone to use the apps. For me, it is more for family bonding. If you see any good videos, if you got a kid, then you share with the kids. That will be a family bonding.
I will have a small team where we will all plan together on like what to do. And I think for my father, he usually he say he swipe the app for like 1-2 hours a day. So usually he will like consolidate a lot of ideas, and then we will like discuss together, and that's how we plan. And then for execution, usually we just like set out everything and then we execute in like one take, because we feel that if you film it in one take, the reaction will be more genuine. I think after I tried a few audios, I found that this audio actually people like it, so I started to use more of it. But upon like further research, I realized that it's actually an old meme that actually is quite popular last time. And sometimes I really do get sick of it, because usually I try to tune it to the beat of the song. So usually I have to do it sometimes like almost frame by frame. So I need to hear the thing over and over again to make sure that it's not like real.
No, because of just to make everybody happy. So because pranking seems to attract more attention, so we continue the pranking.
I feel proud because like I have a very sporty father, because he's willing to try out everything. Like he tried to film with me, he tried to use the app, he tried to go into social media. Just by trying out, he actually realized that social media is not so difficult to use, and like not just youngsters can use social media, but everyone from all different ages can use social media as long as they are willing to try.
Definitely, I'm proud of what achievement he has. To achieve 7 million of followers, that is not overnight.
I think for me, I find that it's very interesting, and it's also very good because I know many other qualities about my father which I don't know before.
I try as much as to let him plan himself, to listen his view rather than my view. Then I just give some of my points. But at the end of the day, whether I think it may not be good, I will still give him and say, hey, look, go ahead. Because ultimately, I want my son to try. Oh, definitely for family, not just father and son. Also with my daughter, my wife, then we have more family time. And also because of COVID, so then now it's after COVID, we're still producing a video together almost every day.
If you want to make videos to reach out to more people, first you have to know like what people want and what you want to do. So even though people like, let's say, comedy, and I don't like comedy, so it will not last the long run because you don't really have the passion for it.
I want to thank all the followers that is following on my video. It also makes my day to see I have so many followers. We will continue to produce more humorous video for you.
I would like to say like thank you for like all your support. Like every single view, comment, like is actually very important to me, because we took like a lot of time to plan, edit, and to actually try to make as much videos as we can. So thank you so much. I don't think I'm as flexible now, I think. But I can try, I think.
Okay, Danny Ming's turn, right? Yeah, Danny Ming's turn. This is the most popular father-son TikTok.
Oh, what a cool video. Thank you, Mingwei and Cedric. It looks like it's going to be a family affair soon if you can get your mom to join in full time. And I think it's always fun to prank family members, isn't it? Now let's move on to the next part of our discussion. First up, let's hear from Mingwei. So Mingwei, we were looking at your some of your videos just now, and you still look very flexible. If you describe the type of content that you create and what do you like about TikTok as a platform?
Basically, for me, I mainly create like comedy skits and prank videos with my dad because we hope to make people laugh and brighten their day. So actually, besides creating like entertaining content, I usually participate in those campaigns and hashtag challenges, and some of them are actually quite meaningful. So for example, this year I actually took part in a challenge, which is the Think Before You Do challenge, that has over 409 million views. So this challenge actually aims to encourage Singaporeans to take a moment and think before they conduct like dangerous acts on TikTok. So actually, for me, by participating in such challenges, I hope that I can do my part in raising the awareness about the dangers of posting harmful content for entertainment purposes. And at the same time, I can also encourage users to practice safe and responsible behavior. So what I love about TikTok is actually about its diverse and buzzing community that actually accepts authentic expression. I also like that it has a function called the For You page, where um, the For You page actually shows people videos that is curated to each body interest. So with the For You page, we are able to post videos and reach audiences that actually don't follow you as long as they have the same interest as you. So yeah, back to you, Vanessa.
Thanks, Mingwei. It does sound very democratic and it's a platform for everyone. But how do you get your family members like your dad involved? What was his reaction at first? And what is it like kind of creating videos with your parents? Are there any funny or memorable moments?
Oh, yes, of course. It started actually during the circuit breaker because we all had to stay at home. So actually, I didn't approach my father first. I approached my mother first. But actually, she was a bit camera shy and she suggested that I ask my father instead. And after a few times, he sort of agreed to try one time. So being actually quite new to TikTok and content creation, my dad actually needed some guidance to sort of like act or what to do. But however, as time like went on, he became more involved and he became more comfortable and more natural. And now he even comes to me like with suggestion on what videos we should do next because he said that he spent about 1-2 hours every day swiping and he will just show me some interesting ideas. Yeah. And as for funny and memorable moments, of course, because we film every day, we discuss together. So actually, it's not just the final product, but it's also like the discussion part. We start to interact more and we know more about each other. Yeah.
Thank you, Mingwei. And now, Cedric, let's hear from you. What is your perspective as a parent who is, still quite new to TikTok? For example, why did you start creating content on TikTok and when was it? Was quite recent, right? And whether it was difficult or easy for you to start using the app?
I started creating TikTok video, of course, during circuit breaker, as I mentioned earlier. Initially, I was worried and uncertain whether I can understand the apps, but surprising, it is easy to use. The TikTok apps has several easy to use video capturing and editing tool. I can also choose a lot of different music available in the apps. So I will say that it is very easy apps to use.
Right, interesting. And so from your perspective as a parent, how relevant do you think TikTok is for families when it comes to finding things to do and when it comes to family bonding?
Of course, then first thing I would strongly recommend parents to try to download or use TikTok as a way to bond with their children. You get a chance to understand what the children is thinking, also what they are interested in, and then you can use that as a conversation topic with them.
That's kind of interesting about what you're talking about how you can get to know each other a bit more because it's a platform and a space that you're not previously working together or communicating together on. So that's quite interesting. And I'm sure that many parents watching are curious to know how your family and other families can also use TikTok safely as well as creatively. So perhaps we can hear from Arjun. And so Arjun, how does TikTok do its part in ensuring that it is a trusted and safe online space?
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. So TikTok over the years has continued to invest in content moderation technology as well as infrastructure to make sure that the platform is safe and overall promotes a positive experience for everybody using the platform. Like I mentioned before, we're a platform that strives to promote positivity. We're a platform that strives to promote creativity, authentic expression. And for creativity to thrive, you need to have a safe and secure environment. I'm just going to quickly touch upon some of the features that we've invested in. And since a lot of parents are dialing into the show, that parents are not aware of and should be aware of, that helps you have oversight of what your teenagers, what your children are doing on the platform, but that you could also use yourself to stay safe. Now, these are obviously features and controls that users have. In addition to that, TikTok in itself, like I mentioned, has invested in machine learning, algorithmic technology, as well as content moderators to keep the platform safe and secure. So a couple of things very quickly to call out. So first one is our family pairing feature. This was something that we launched a couple of months back, and we've recently upgraded this feature. And with the family pairing feature, basically, we allow parents to gather insight and control on how their children are using TikTok, and if they're using it in a responsible way. Again, it's hard to describe all of the features, but I would strongly encourage people to download the app and use the family pairing feature. We also then have a lot of controls. As a user, you can directly control what your teens are searching for in terms of content, in terms of hashtags. You can also decide who can comment on your team's videos. You can restrict discovery because a lot of times you don't want strangers to be contacting you, or you don't really trust who you're talking to on the platform. And so you can definitely have a lot of controls in place. A few of the features I think that are very pertinent to a parent audience. I know screen time is a big thing these days. Everybody is worried about how much time people are spending on social media. So we do allow for screen time management, which lets you control how long a child can spend on TikTok. We in fact have partnered with a lot of top creators to make videos that encourage users on how they can keep tabs on screen time. And then, like I said, we have things like restricted mode, which basically restrict the appearance of content that might not be appropriate for all audiences. And as parents, you can really take control on how much exposure your children have and to what kinds of content and to what kinds of users they're engaging on the platform. Happy to go into further details if you have the time, but I'm gonna give the floor back to you.
All right, thank you, Arjun. I think that, just hearing that as a parent myself, I feel very reassured that there are so many features in place to help parents feel comforted that there are these controls, right? But besides playful videos, I think that let's talk about how TikTok can also help in creativity. For example, I know that TikTok has other uses, such as in terms of education. So how has TikTok stepped up as an alternative platform for creative remote learning, especially for youth?
Yeah, and thank you, Vanessa. This is interesting, right? This is also interestingly one of the misconceptions that internet is full of cat and dog videos. And while that's important and that's interesting and entertaining, I think platforms, especially TikTok, during the pandemic have grown to be platforms for content which is highly educative, highly informative, and extremely useful in keeping people informed. Yeah, so just to take a few examples, we have, in fact, a lot of the learning centers in schools that have taken to TikTok during the lockdown. In fact, we have a lot of teachers who are starting to take the platform and reach out to their kids, reach out to audiences. Some of the people who come to mind, there's a geography teacher whose name is Bernice Loon. She shares geography exam tips. Then you have a math teacher who goes by the handle Math Teacher, who talks about mathematics concepts and really in a funny way. And we also have Coach Saiful, who again is a primary school teacher, but has taken to the platform and in reaching out to kids and keeping them informed and teaching them in a really fun TikToky way. In addition to tuition and obviously learning centers taking to the platform, we do have a lot of other diverse content that is really interesting. For example, we've had some celebrity chefs, in fact, master chefs taking to the platform with their families and teaching people cooking tips, teaching people how to cook. I myself have learned a few things during the pandemic. We all have had to cook ourselves. So yeah, I mean, from cooking to beauty tips to doctors talking about the science of vaccines and how do you stay safe during COVID, to learning, to remote learning. I think TikTok has been a platform for education, information, and it's great because it's, in addition to spreading joy and being entertained, you also want to make sure you're staying aware of what's happening in the world.
Right, Ajahn, that's so interesting. I think I wasn't really aware previously about the breadth of topics that can be found on TikTok. Thank you. Right, so let's now talk to G. Could you please share, G, some best practices to engage youth on when it comes to digital literacy, as well as provide some tips on how parents can protect their children in the online environment?
Thanks, Vanessa. I think that's a very interesting question. My area of research, I actually look at how parents manage their children's digital journey. And I noticed a few things, some good practices that parents have used. One type of activities are what I would term as gatekeeping type of activities. That means the laying down of rules for usage, and rules especially more important for the younger children. For example, when to use, who they can connect with, what kind of content or what kind of apps they can use, etc. And specific to what Mr. Arjun shared just now, there are some technological tools that will be able to help parents with that gatekeeping type of activities, laying down of rules and things like that. And then parents also practice activities that inform them of what their child is doing on social media, as well as what their child is doing on any other internet activities as well. So these kind of activities seek to find out more about what their children are doing, the features of social media, the app, the game, etc. And parents typically ask their friends, their colleagues. Some parents may actually try it out, find out more, connect with their child through social media. I mean, for example, Danny Ming is more aware of what his son Mingwei is doing by just enjoying doing TikTok videos together. So these are the kind of activities that parents do to help inform them of what their children are doing on social media. And that helps in managing their children's habits as well. Then we have parents practicing what I term as discursive type of activities. That means discussing with their children about what the parents see as benefits and concerns about their digital journey, about their social media usage, etc. So parents have shared with me that sometimes they do this casually over dinner table or other meal times and all that. And sometimes they just casually talk about a newspaper article that refers to a particular situation on social media. And that helps them discuss it better. And then finally, parents also practice diversionary type activities. That means they intentionally introduce and or explore alternatives instead of only relying on social media. Example, parents may encourage their children to, hey, instead of just connecting with your friends over social media, why don't you meet your friends for lunch physically and things like that. The Media Literacy Council's website, and you can find that information on the screen as well. Now, I will leave on this note to parents. Know the media and know the child. Know what the media is all about, its features, its affordances, and all that. And then know what the child is doing on that media platform and how he or she is handling it. And I'll leave with that. Over to you, Vanessa.
Thanks so much, G. That sounds like very sound advice. And, actually, there's so many ways that parents can get involved, and not just to get involved, but to connect with their children. So maybe one last question for you. So as an advocate for media literacy, how has your experience been working in this space, and what are your key takeaways of the attitudes of youth towards social media usage?
Well, in my experience, as I interact with youth in this space, well, one thing for sure, social media is important to them. We must all understand that most of the youth onboarding process, that means how they actually got onto their social media of choice, is through friends, peers, sometimes cousins, and all that. They see social media as a space for friendship. They get their sources of information or entertainment via social media. So it is an important space for the youth. Well, in my interaction with them, many of them are aware of, online safety tips. For example, don't meet up with online strangers and things like that. But there are a few things I notice that we should take a good look at. One is that while the youth are aware, I find that most of them are actually complacent. They have this attitude that, this kind of thing won't happen to me. It may happen to someone else, etc. Whatever dangers that they may be familiar with, they have this idea that it will not happen to me, it may happen to my friends, etc. And we must also take note that technology is constantly evolving, and we always need to catch up. I remember one time a parent came to me and said, hey, I typically vet my children's game at the beginning stages. And then I had to tell the parent, hey, you have to be aware that as a child levels up in a particular video game, sometimes it opens up more controversial gameplay scenarios, which you may want to take note of and advise your child on. So that's have been my experience. Over to you, Vanessa.
Thank you, G. That's really interesting. I think that it's just fascinating to me hearing all the ways that children as well as adults are trying to interact with each other and connect on social media. Right. Thank you so much, panelists, for the insights shared so far. And so our audience today, please do feel free to ask any questions that you might like in the chat before we start our next section. We'll be very happy to hear from you. So we do have some questions from the audience that were asked when people registered for the event in the first place. So thank you everyone for those contributions as well. Some of these questions would have been answered during the discussion in some shape or form. So let's ask the panel for their views on topics that the audience has raised previously when they registered that have not been covered so far. Okay, let's, for example, maybe Arjun would be best placed for this. Like, Arjun, what are some features that have to do with things like protecting data privacy? And whether, you have processes in place to remove harmful content. For example, there are trending videos of dangerous or inappropriate behavior. How does TikTok deal with such things?
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. So first of all, I just want to start by saying we have very transparent policies, whether it comes to what kind of content we allow, not allow on the platform. We call these community guidelines because honestly, it's meant for our community. And We put this out on our site. We also put this out on our safety center. It's written in a very simple language that's easy to read, right? So you can't get it wrong once you read it. The other piece also then around the privacy guidelines, we also are very transparent and explicit about our data collection practices, what data we collect. And again, it's all in the public domain, right? So starting with the question around how do we protect our users from online harm? Basically, we have a so this is a top line summary. We have a zero tolerance policy towards any kind of content that creates a negative experience, a negative vibe on the platform. Like I mentioned before, the platform has a certain vibe, and there are three parts to that ecosystem. There's users, there's creators who are creating content, users who are consuming this content. And then there is also the community, right? It's people who are not necessarily on the platform, but are consuming off platform, right? So stuff gets discussed, things go viral, people are engaged about the topics of discussion, and so we take that responsibility very seriously. And so when it comes to things like hate speech or things like age inappropriate content or content that is unsuitable for viewers across ages, when it comes to societal fault lines or certain stereotypes that you would associate with certain genders, we do not allow for any of this content on the platform. We also believe that safety is a shared responsibility, and we have a very engaged community. And a lot of times our community is the first responder flagging to us content that might have slipped through our moderation systems. So we have this nifty in-app reporting function where if you as a user see inappropriate content or content that you think is off or behaviors that some of the users might be demonstrating that might not be conducive to the platform, you can report to us. And as soon as we get a user report, there is a team that is behind the scenes investigating and actively reviewing and taking actions. The last thing I do want to call out is, like I said, transparency is key for us. And it is a social media platform. It is a platform for good, but it's also a platform where we sometimes see bad behavior and we address it immediately. We also put numbers out in terms of, how much content we've taken down and what are the different categories of content we've taken down. We call it the transparency report. And so far we've published 2 editions of it, and we intend to continue publishing at least once every 6 months in the public domain. So you can take a read at what were the different kinds of bad content that we've taken off the platform.
Thank you, Arjun. I think that's really interesting to hear about. There are different levels to deal with inappropriate behavior and different channels even to kind of address it and report it. Right, this brings me to the next question that was also previously raised by our audience. And I'd like to direct this to G. What age is appropriate to introduce children to social media? And how do you give the kids enough space without being a helicopter parent?
Thanks, Vanessa. That's a very interesting question. Not very easy to answer, but let me just try. Typically, I hold on to this principle that when a child is responsible with the little, we can trust him or her with greater things. So how I've implemented it with my children is that, for example, if they were to come to me and say, I wanted to use this particular app, let's just say WhatsApp, and I would ask them why and what would they be using it for. So my daughters were saying that they want to communicate with their gymnastic friends and things like that. So I would typically start off with testing them on whether they're responsible with a little. And how do I do that? I will just let them use the phone. That means they don't hold it with them throughout the day. Use the phone for maybe about half an hour in my presence and let them just chit chat and things like that. And then later on, I see if they have been responsible in a sense that they didn't go surf other places and things like that. And then slowly I'll just open up the time, open up them to more apps and things like that. So there isn't really an age per se. I guess if you start at a very young age, you may want to have a more heavily monitored situation. And then as they grow older and they are more responsible, you may want to relax that. So I don't really have an age per se, but the way I work with them, and I've seen some parents work with their children as well, is when they have seen that the children are responsible with the little, they can actually trust them with more things. So if I'm really forced to peg an age to it, I think when my child first came on board and wanted some form of usage of social media, um, if it's around P5, primary 5, primary 6, I would have to set up the account for them and then they will use it. But once they are in their secondary school, I do allow my older children who have proven themselves responsible to have their own account and their own usage. I hope that helps. Back to you, Vanessa.
Yeah, definitely. That is so interesting. I think it circles back to your advice earlier that we have to kind of know our own children, right? And know and give them responsibility as we see fit. Right. And so, G, how do we as parents keep up to date with the latest trends on social media so that we can keep keeping our children safe?
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Firstly, I've already shared that the Media Literacy Council does have a website where they provide this sort of information for parents who needs help. So what I know what other parents do is they just ask around. They may ask around their nephews and nieces if their children don't want to tell them and things like that, on what goes on this particular app, what goes on in a particular app in a sense where how the children use it and stuff like that. So I think for one, if I were to look at video games, for example, there are YouTube videos on gameplay sequences and all that for parents to understand about video games. There are resources online that parents can go to. And what I advocate, the best way is actually to ask the child directly. So I will ask my children, hey, tell me more about this app. What can it do? How do you use it? I think what's more important is how the child actually uses it, who he or she communicates with, and what kind of content that he or she deals with. So for me, my first priority is to ask my own children, and then if they don't give me the answers that I need, I'll look elsewhere. So back to you, Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you, G. That's really good advice here. All right, so let's hear from the child here, Mingwei. Like, what are your tips to create good content for TikTok? Do you use filters? Do you add music to your videos? You know, how do you create content that is good and is something that your followers enjoy?
Okay. So I think for me, if you want to create good content, so first, I think you must know what is trending. So actually for this, TikTok is actually quite a good app because they have sort of like the discover page. So whenever there's a new hashtag or new trends, they will immediately put it on the front page. So it's sort of like many people are able to create content based on what is trending. So based on what is trending, your content will be more likely to do better. And I think for me also, if you good content is something that people can relate to. So if you make content that is actually easy to make, people can understand, you will tend to do better. Yeah, that's for me.
All right, that's really interesting. Thank you, Mingwei.
Yep.
Right, and so let's say, Cedric, do you have any advice for parents or even just older adults that want to go on TikTok for the first time?
Don't think too much. Just download the apps, and if you do not have, before you knew it, you will be enjoying the apps with your family members and your friends. Back to you.
Right, thank you. Right, I think that we can now field some questions from that have come in. Right, for example, G, I think that's a topic here about social media addiction. You know, sometimes we use the word, oh, they're addicted to the internet a bit loosely. But what really are the signs of social media addiction, and how do we get help and where?
Okay, well, there are literature out there that looks at addiction per se. I think what we are more familiar with, or at least the measure that I use, is whether it harms the functioning of the child. So, for example, a child has two main functioning. Let's say a school-going child has two main functioning. One, his or her academic functioning, and two, his or her social functioning. So, for example, in the area of video games, one of the tools that we use is whether, as a result of video gaming, does it harm his academic functioning? Does he skip school? Does he are his grades suffering as a result of video gaming and things like that? And then his social functioning. Is he angry, for example, or demonstrate very rude behaviors to the parents? Is he stealing money from the parents in order to sustain his video gaming habits and things like that? So when we look at this term, we typically look at how far it affects the functioning of a child. And if you're looking at school-going children, we are looking largely at his or her academic functioning, and secondly, his or her social functioning.
Yeah.
Back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you, G. I think that's something like definitely advice that all parents can use, and maybe also to reassure us that, not everything is about addiction, but, look at the functioning of the child. That's really interesting. So maybe we'll have one last question. This is directed to Arjun. Can you tell us a bit more about the Think Before You Do campaign, hashtag Think Before You Do? Why is TikTok doing this, and how can people sign up, and what do you think TikTok hopes to achieve with this campaign?
Yeah, so just as background, TikTok exclusively partnered with Media Literacy Council to launch. It was mainly meant to be an educational and a hashtag challenge. It was called Think Before You Do. And the basic premise is, we have a lot of young and potentially vulnerable population on the platform. It's a demographic that is at risk of things like cyberbullying. And like we said, internet is mostly a safe place, but you need to be aware of the outliers. You need to be aware of what goes wrong. You need to be aware of digital wellness concepts. So the whole idea of this was, to prompt our users to think before you do, right? Basically, think about your community, think about being responsible, think about being civil on the platforms. So the idea is to instill a sense of civic responsibility. The idea is to also bring about and raise awareness around how your actions could potentially impact others on the platform. Oftentimes we forget that the same rules that govern us, that apply to us in the real world, also apply to us in the digital world. It's not like, the rules are different or the rules change. So the idea behind this was to kind of, again, in a TikTok-y way, but encourage users to, to behave responsibly, and also to think about the community.
Thank you, Arjun. I think it's great to hear about, civic responsibility and community building on the internet. Thank you. So thank you, G, Arjun, Mingwei, and Cedric, for your very meaningful sharing. We certainly learned a lot from our speakers this afternoon. So based on what we've been talking about, I think that we can conclude that there are three main takeaways. First of all, parenting a teen's digital life can be daunting. And although many parents may feel as if they're playing catch up, actually what we've learned today is that when used safely, social media can be an avenue for parents and children to share their interests and even learn more about one another. Secondly, safety is a shared responsibility, and we all have this responsibility to engage in safe behavior online. both for ourselves and our community. And also, it's not just cat and dog videos, as Arjun said just now, but TikTok and other social media platforms are there to build community, and TikTok helps us to build an environment where positivity and creativity can thrive. So I hope that we all hope that you will take what you've learned so far to start exploring these platforms and not think that that is something that is not something for you. It can be for both you and your children, and we can all leverage these platforms responsibly to improve family time and better connect with our children. So following this session, TikTok and the Media Literacy Council will also launch an educational guidebook outlining how local users can all play a big part in making the internet a happy and safe place, as well as other safety features on TikTok. So do look out for this on the Media Literacy Council website. In addition, the Straits Times has unveiled a new parenting microsite. It's called ST Smart Parenting, and we present the full range of parenting issues as well as provide a sharp new focus on education, which is an important topic for many families. At the end of the day, consistent communication is key. It's key to fostering any relationships. And social media is a powerful medium that allows for effective communication between family members and allows families also to create unforgettable moments with their loved ones. So thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Hi, everyone. We appreciate if you could take a couple of minutes to complete the survey on the webinar and stand a chance to win $5 Foodpanda vouchers. Use the QR code or the link provided to complete the survey. Winners will be notified via email. For more exciting tech experiences offered by SG Digital Wonderland, scan the QR code or click the link provided to find out more. Have a good day ahead.